We all know someone who is brilliant. A genius on paper with a sky-high IQ who can solve complex equations or recall obscure historical facts with ease. But sometimes that same person's life is a complete mess. Their relationships are a disaster, they can't manage their stress, they seem to make one bad decision after another and they're just deeply unhappy. On the other hand, we all know people who may not have been the top students in school but who just seem to sail through life. They are resilient in the face of setbacks, they have deep, lasting friendships, they are charismatic leaders, people are just drawn to them. They have a kind of practical wisdom that allows them to navigate the world with grace and effectiveness. So, what's the difference? What do these people have that the frustrated genius doesn't? In his groundbreaking and world-changing book, Emotional Intelligence, the psychologist and science journalist Daniel Goleman provides the answer. And that answer will change how you think about what it means to be smart forever. He argues that our society has been obsessed with a narrow and incomplete definition of intelligence, the kind measured by IQ tests, but there is another, far more powerful form of intelligence, one that is a much greater predictor of our happiness and success in every area of our lives. He calls it emotional intelligence. And the best news of all? Unlike IQ, it is a skill that can be learned. To understand emotional intelligence, you first have to understand that you have two minds, not one. We have a rational mind, the part of us that thinks, that analyzes, that is aware and reflective. And we have an emotional mind, the powerful, impulsive, and often illogical part of us that feels. For most of Western history, we have seen these two minds as being at war. The rational mind was the hero, the noble king that was supposed to rule over the wild, dangerous beast of our emotions. The goal was for reason to conquer passion, but Goleman, drawing on modern neuroscience, paints a different, more collaborative picture. A better metaphor is that of a rider and a horse. The rational mind is the rider, holding the reins, capable of planning and steering, but the emotional mind is the horse, a powerful, energetic, and intuitive creature that provides all the drive and motivation for the journey. A rider without a horse is going nowhere. A horse without a skilled rider is wild and uncontrolled. A well-lived life is not about the rider beating the horse into submission. It is about the rider learning to understand, to calm, and to skillfully guide the immense power of the horse. The problem is, our modern education system spends almost all its time training the rider. It teaches us math, and logic, and language, but it almost completely ignores the horse. It never teaches us how to understand or manage the powerful emotions that are, in reality, driving most of our decisions. Emotional intelligence is the art of becoming a skilled rider. It is the practical skill of bringing intelligence to your emotions. Goleman breaks down emotional intelligence, or EQ, into 5 key domains. The first two are all about our inner world. They are the foundation of self-mastery. The first and most fundamental domain is self-awareness. This is the bedrock of all emotional intelligence. It is the simple but not always easy ability to know what you are feeling as you are feeling it. It sounds obvious, but most of us go through our days in a state of emotional numbness. We feel a vague sense of anxiety or irritation, but we don't know why. A person with high self-awareness can identify and name their feelings in real time. They can say, okay, I'm not just in a bad mood. I'm feeling anxious because I am worried about that deadline, and I am feeling frustrated because I feel unappreciated by my boss. This ability to observe and label our own emotional state is a superpower. It is the difference between being a boat tossed around on the waves of your feelings and being the captain of the ship, who can see the weather changing and adjust the sails accordingly. Self-awareness is the skill of being an honest and curious observer of your own inner landscape. The second domain is self-regulation. Once you are aware of your emotions, you can begin to manage them. This is not about suppressing your feelings, it's about regulating them, so that they don't hijack your behavior. To understand this, we need to talk about a key concept from neuroscience, the amygdala hijack. Deep in your brain, you have a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It is your emotional alarm system, your brain's smoke detector. When it senses a threat, real or perceived, it can trigger an immediate and overwhelming fight-or-flight response. It floods your body with adrenaline and cortisol, and it essentially hijacks the rational thinking part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. This is an amygdala hijack. It's what happens when you completely lose your temper in traffic, or say something cruel and regrettable to a loved one in the heat of an argument. In that moment, your powerful emotional mind has taken over, and your rational rider has been thrown from the horse. Self-regulation is the skill of preventing, or at least shortening, these hijacks. A person with high self-regulation can feel the anger or the anxiety begin to rise, and they can create a small, crucial gap of awareness between the feeling and their reaction. In that gap lies the power to choose. They can take a deep breath, they can reframe the situation, they can talk back to their own catastrophic thoughts. They are not controlled by their emotional impulses, they are in a conscious partnership with them. They know how to soothe their own inner horse. The third domain of emotional intelligence is motivation. This is about our ability to marshal our emotions in the service of a goal. It's not just about what you feel, it's about how you use what you feel to get things done. One of the key skills of motivation is the ability to delay gratification. This was famously demonstrated in the marshmallow test, a classic psychology experiment. A group of 4-year-olds were given a choice. You can have one marshmallow right now, or if you can wait for 15 minutes while I leave the room, you can have 2 marshmallows when I get back. It's a simple test of impulse control. Years later, the researchers followed up with these children, and they found that the kids who had been able to resist the temptation and wait for the second marshmallow were, on average, far more successful in life. They had higher test scores, were more socially competent, and were better able to cope with the frustrations of life. This isn't just about willpower, it's a core emotional skill. It is the ability to manage the impulse for immediate reward in the service of a longer-term goal. It's what allows you to study for an exam instead of going to a party, or to save money for retirement instead of buying an expensive new gadget. Another key component of motivation is optimism. Not a naive, Pollyanna-ish optimism, but a resilient and realistic optimism. People with this skill see setbacks not as personal failures but as temporary and surmountable challenges. If they fail at something, their inner dialogue is not, "I'm a loser." It is, "Okay, that approach didn't work. What can I learn from this and what can I try differently next time?" This ability to reframe failure as a learning opportunity is what allows people to persevere in the face of adversity. It is the emotional fuel that keeps them going when things get tough. Emotionally intelligent people know how to use their feelings as the engine, not the anchor of their ambitions. The outer universe, the art of connecting with others. The first 3 domains of emotional intelligence are about managing ourselves. The final 2 are about how we use these skills to navigate our relationships with others. The fourth domain is empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and feel what another person is feeling. It is the ability to put yourself in their shoes, to see the world from their perspective. Goleman explains that empathy is rooted in our biology, in a set of brain cells called mirror neurons. When you see someone smile or frown or wince in pain, your mirror neurons fire in the same pattern as if you were making that expression yourself. Your brain literally mirrors or simulates the emotional state of the other person. It is the foundation of all human connection and compassion. People who are high in empathy are skilled at reading nonverbal cues, the tone of voice, the facial expression, the body language. They are good listeners. They make people feel seen and understood. This skill is absolutely critical for success in any field that involves other human beings, from teaching and medicine to management and sales. Without empathy, you are emotionally tone deaf. The fifth and final domain is social skills. This is where all the other emotional skills come together in the art of handling relationships. Social skill is not about being fake or manipulative. It is about using your self-awareness, your self-regulation, and your empathy to create positive and effective interactions. People with strong social skills are good at persuasion. They can articulate their ideas in a way that resonates with the emotions and values of others. They are good at leading teams, not through command and control, but by inspiring a shared sense of purpose. They are good at negotiating and at resolving conflicts because they can understand the perspective of the other side and find common ground. Social skill is, in essence, empathy in action. It is the ability to use your understanding of the emotional landscape, both yours and others, to build rapport, to communicate effectively, and to create strong, positive, and lasting relationships. It is the final piece of the puzzle, the domain that allows you to translate your inner emotional intelligence into outer world success. The philosophy of a well-lived life. The ultimate argument of emotional intelligence is a profound and revolutionary one. For centuries, we have defined intelligence in a very narrow, academic way. But Daniel Goleman, with a mountain of scientific evidence, makes the case that this is a huge mistake. He shows that while a high IQ might get you into the door, it is a high EQ that will determine how well you do once you're in the room. Emotional intelligence is not a soft skill. It is the essential ingredient for a successful career, for a loving and lasting marriage, for effective parenting, and for a deep sense of personal well-being. The skills of self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social grace are the fundamental skills of being a successful human being. And the most hopeful and empowering message of the entire book is that, unlike IQ, which is thought to be largely fixed from a young age, emotional intelligence is a skill that can be learned and improved throughout your entire life. Your brain is not a static object. It is a dynamic and plastic system. You can, with conscious practice, create new neural pathways. You can learn to be a better listener. You can learn to manage your anger. You can learn to be more resilient in the face of setbacks. Cultivating emotional intelligence is, in a very real sense, a form of modern-day virtue ethics. It is a practical, science-backed path to becoming a better, more effective, and happier person. The book is not just a description of a psychological concept, it is an optimistic and empowering guide to upgrading your own mental and emotional software. It is a profound inquiry into the art and science of a well-lived life. If you are ready to learn the skills that truly matter, you are in the right place. Welcome to Geeky Philosopher. Subscribe and let's continue to explore the practical philosophies that can transform our lives.